Good evening, folks. Brian here. Geomagnetic Earth Watch on Tuesday, March 7, 2023 on our planet. Hope you're all well. So I hope you enjoyed my parody on a couple of the wackos out there on YouTube. Speaking of wackos, every once in a while I'll go to their YouTube channels, but it's not to look at their content because they tell you absolutely nothing what's going on and how to prepare yourself and your family going into a period of difficulties. One person's comment, however, struck me because it's exactly like me. It wasn't my comment. I would like to read that person's comment and continue with my own commentary. That person said, "Lead my sheep to yourself to save them and profit by it. Instead of leading them to me, Yeshua, then you have become a false prophet for profit, otherwise for personal monetary gain." And unfortunately, there's a lot of YouTubers out there, including the most prominent ones, who are there just for that and give you absolutely no information whatsoever to help prepare you. In fact, some, not all, but some only lead you astray and guide you away from Him, despite proclaiming themselves to be a Christian, yet in direct contradiction on everything that He has done in the past, the present, and going into the future. Now, despite a subject being someone's interest, passion, dedication, just like me, my dedication, morning, afternoon, night, every single day, without fail, 365 days a year, going into the 6th year, more intense now, because I see the intensification of the earth changes at the same time as the orchestrated distractions to keep your attention away from them. And I don't see anybody else giving you this information. And I will remain a poor and humble man. I don't have a big bust, but I got my fern. Okay, I got my observatory. It's right here. Said that in my very first video. Now, as stated in the book of Revelations, there's going to be false prophets, but there's also false prophets by other definitions. And again, to steer you away from truth. Now, a good man does not constantly beg for money and insult every single person who doesn't give him money. A good man also doesn't lie and treat people like a piece of shit, scorn them, and scream at them. Now, some who have their own, call it what do you want, sanctuaries, ranches, doomsday camps. These people have said, "We love you all," or you might say, "Be safe, everyone." These same people have very clearly stated that they have their weapons and they have more than enough ammunition, and they will use them against any person who tries to reach them for safety during an event, a catastrophic event, SHTF situation. They have stated this. Otherwise, they have stated they will kill you. You give them your money, then they will kill you. You give them your money through donations, whatever, right? Me, I'm a poor, humble man, and I'll remain as such. Trying to give you the information and trying to tell you what's happening with our planet. Right? Now, I, and certainly nobody else, I don't care how arrogant or how big someone's ego is, No one knows an exact timeline. Only he does, and he's only given us his playlist and what to watch out for. The earthquakes in diverse places, the pestilence, the famines, the signs from above, and the false prophets, to give you an indication of when the 7-year tribulation timeline starts, but first the beginning of sorrows and the earth pains. I'm going to give you my version of what I see for the past 18 months. Now, let's go back starting July 29, 2021. 9.5 earthquake, Alaska Peninsula. How do we know it was a 9.5? 3 reasons. First, all the seismograph stations from around the world picked up that seismic energy as a 9.5. Second, if you're going to have an antipode response earthquake, which is an earthquake on the opposite side of the world, coming out at within 30 degrees on the other side, as the seismic energy travels through the center of the earth, it loses between 1 and 1.5 magnitude. Therefore, an antipode earthquake would have been anywhere between an 8 and 8.2. Fact, South Sandwich Island was the antipode and they had an 8.2 earthquake. Third, 10 minutes after that 9.5 earthquake, every single tsunami buoy along the entire northern Pacific plate perimeter went into motion. Remember, mantle plume push, crust. I've given many examples already. So in August 2021, as I said, the 8.2 earthquake, South Sandwich Island, which is between the Antarctic Peninsula and the bottom end of South America. Third, Fulcrum Point. Fulcrum Point was the Caribbean island. We had a 7.4 to 7.6 earthquake in Haiti, which killed a lot of people. That same time period, the summer of 2021, we had several magnitude 7 plus earthquakes. West Sulawesi, Indonesia, Philippines, Croatia, Armenia area, Argentina. Lots of 7s, lots of destruction, lots of death, lots of forgotten, and it's forgotten because it's never been reported. Continuing. End of last year, we had a whole series of 7 plus earthquakes east side of Australia around the Coral Sea region, Vanuatu, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Bismarck Sea. Then we had the 7.6 earthquake, Banda Sea, Indonesia, followed by the 7.2 northeast Sulawesi. Then the 2 8.1 earthquakes in Turkey, followed by the 3rd epicenter location, southern Turkey. And then the seismic spread into the entire eastern Mediterranean. Then, not related to the Turkey earthquakes, we had the 7.1 earthquake in Tajikistan. Then an unreported 6.9 in the Bay of Bengal. And now it's all repeating again with the upper level 6s earthquakes. Vanuatu, Samoa, Bismarck Sea, it's all repeating again. For anybody to say we have not had an increase in seismic activity as part of the distraction. This includes some YouTubers. Now, I'm just going over the seismic activity of the past year and a half. Now let's go to the heat. When I'm talking about heat, I'm talking about coming up through the mantle plumes, magma wave action, the rising pressure and heat coming inside to the heads and spreading underneath the lithosphere, the crust. Following the 7.6 earthquake, Banda C, Tambora volcano lit up like a Christmas tree. For those of you who are not aware of the Tambora, April 1815, the Tambora volcano in Indonesia erupted and caused what's called the Year Without Summer in 1816. Entire northern hemisphere. Massive crop losses, famine, death. Millions of people died. Next, Campi Flegrei and Vesuvius, although minor, has been showing some seismic responses all around the flanks of these two volcanoes. As I've been recently reporting, and this is really starting to get my attention, folks, all those heat signatures along the western continental edge of Europe. As reported today, Norway, previously Scotland, England, Ireland, seismic responses. Norway, England, where we never had earthquakes before. Off of the west tip of France, including today, continuous. Off the coast of Spain, off the coast of Portugal. I think one of these again. And if I have time, I'll bring you a final report tonight. Los Angeles, a lot more heat indications, including along the coastal areas. And for the first time, on the edge of Lake Taupo volcano, New Zealand. Only two. It's close enough to the edge. There's also been some seismic responses on the north west side of Australia, offshore. Now I know it's one of these again. There's a big one of these centered underneath Australia. And then we have the Coral Sea region, lots of seismic responses. Indonesia, lots of heat coming up. So this is just some of the earth changes that's been happening since the past 18 months. And I've been saying for the past year, watch the heat detections coming up and increasing. As I see an intensification of Earth's responses, I see a corresponding intensification of the orchestrated distractions. Now let's get into the period of difficulties, the beginning of sorrows we're going to be going into. And it's not just the earth changes. It's not just about earthquakes and volcanoes. Now, I don't lose self-control of my faculties and emotions and start screaming at people. The earth and the sun's going to attack you. Cosmic ray-induced insanity, I think. But we do need to prepare. We got to prepare for the looming global conflict, which may be part of the orchestrated distraction, in my opinion. The continuing weakening of our protected magnetosphere. And just as scary as the earth changes is what the elite and the governments have planned for us between now and 2025. With their different systems of control and monitoring. From mandated this to mandated digital currency coming up. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice first, and this is personal for me and my family. It's very personal. It's personal for a lot of other people as well. If you have any family or other loved ones overseas, You have hardly no more time left to go and see them for the last time for a number of reasons. First and foremost, and sadly, if you don't have 2 of these and they're going to make it 3 and 4, you ain't going nowhere. Now, unfortunately, in the very beginning of the pandemic, because so many people were conned, just like YouTubers are conning you, the government did the same thing. A lot of people had no choice but to get the double jab, because at some point in the future, they knew they had to get to their family overseas. The very, very few of us who knew right from the very beginning that this was a bioweapon remain unclean. Unfortunately, we can't travel with them, including if you have any young daughters. You have to say to your young daughter, I'm sorry, I'm your protector. I can't let you go. Something happens in the other side of the world, one of the worst places to be, Indonesia, you can't get to them. You can't go with them. Some of these countries already have that mandates in place. You can't get in unless you have the double jab. And the World Health Organization, who will soon have ultimate authority and control over every single country, doesn't matter about your constitution or Charter of Rights and Freedoms, you will be overruled. That's all part of the new beast system. Another reason why you're not going to be able to travel pretty soon is the global conflict. The wars and rumors of wars making it unsafe. Third, our continuing weakening magnetosphere. Have you noticed lately some incidents on air travel? People going crazy in the airplane? One guy stabbed a steward. It's going to be unsafe pretty soon because of the increased levels of cosmic rays coming in, especially at the higher altitude where you're flying in the planes. You don't have that freedom anymore, folks. You're not going to have that freedom. And when the grid goes down, and eventually it's going to go down in part or in whole, if it's not intentionally taken out the internet, you just lost contact with your family and friends overseas. So, as stated before, I've given you a whole bunch of reasons why 2025 is the date. It's not 2030, folks. It's 2025. By 2025. The World Economic Forum wants to have the digital dollar in place by 2025. Which means a total loss of your freedoms. People don't realize. They're not cluing in. Okay, first of all, the framework, the infrastructure is already being done, right? They just need a reason to implement it. Just like this was already done first. They needed a reason to implement it, and that reason was at 19. And they're getting ready to do it again. So when I say 2025, I'm not saying you have until 2025 to prepare. I would say maybe 2024. Now, the Bank of England has called upon the ministers to decide whether a central bank digital currency should be programmable, which means giving them control over how you spend the digital dollar under the government's control. And everything you do is going to be tracked and monitored. Well, we felt you're driven too much. No, I'm sorry. No more digital dollar for you for this month. Well, you used up more of your carbon credits. Sorry. Now, again, the World Economic Forum is calling for this to be completed by 2 years. There's that 2025 again. It's like they're all psychics, or they all know what's going to happen, or everything's planned to be happening. My video about the Axel Seamount, the large undersea volcano off the coast of Oregon, Washington. That tsunami boy again, going into motion. They have a prediction that between now and 2025 is going to be the next major eruption. One moment, please. So, you have the fear porners, the con men, the wacko jobs, who are profiting off of you. And when you look at the number of subscribers to these people, they outnumber people like you and me. I don't have a big bus, but at least I have my fern. So this is not a fear porn post. I'm bringing to you what I observe on a daily basis. My observatory and my observations. And I'm starting to see some things happening, progress. Again, the western continental shelf of Europe. And if I have time, I'll bring you my report on Southern California. A lot of heat indications coming up. Beyond the normal. That's all for now, folks.